So police in Georgia say that they are not willing to label the slaughter this morning, late last night, of 8 people, 6 of them Asian women, as a hate crime. So let's say it a different way. This was a hateful crime. It's hard to look at, but we cannot look away, and we cannot settle for legalisms. We cannot wait for investigations to be played out. So much of what is wrong in our world is visible in this ugly episode. Georgia State Representative Bee Nguyen captured it best. She said that the shootings appear to be the, quote, intersection of gender-based violence, misogyny, and xenophobia. I would add one more point. This was workplace violence. These workplaces provide massages and often other sexual services to their customers. The workers were almost exclusively Asian women, a kind of workplace segregation we would never tolerate by most other employers. Robert Aaron Long was apparently a customer of massage parlors. He blamed the employees for his compulsion to patronize them.
The suspect did take responsibility for the shootings. He said that early on once we began the interviews with him. He claims that these, and as the chief said, this is still early, but he does claim that it was not racially motivated. He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate. Like I said, it's still early on, but those were comments that he made.
This is madness, of course. It makes as much sense as an alcoholic killing a liquor store worker in retaliation for his alcoholism. But at least this rips open a conversation we needed to have for a long time. Work is work. Sex work is work. Much of sex work is segregated by race and forced underground. The most exploited in our society are also always the most vulnerable. The tragedy for these workers didn't start with their murders. It started years ago in a world of exploitation that drives them into a path that ended in their murders this morning. And maybe it doesn't even drive them into that path. A world where the police are not their protectors, but among their exploiters. The explanation the alleged killer gave to the police makes a kind of ugly sense in this world of dehumanization. He wanted to eliminate temptation, remove what he saw as a trigger to his addiction. Oh, how white supremacist of you. Given how little value we seem to hold these women in, well, sure, why not? Let's just eliminate them. Being inside the mind of a madman is not pleasant, but sometimes it is the craziest among us who see these things clearly. Hurt people hurt people. By his own account, he needed help he didn't get. Yet, 6 women are dead. 6 Asian women are dead at the hands of a white man. At a time when violence against Asians is a stain on our society. And you can see that within this logic. This was, okay, not a racial crime. That was his logic. He killed them because he believed that they were sex workers, not because they were Asian. Did Robert Aaron Long kill these women because they were Asian, or because he believed that they were sex workers, or both? Either way, we cannot evade the most damning question of all. Were they sex workers because they were Asian? Or as Kenzo Shibati, friend of the show, put it in his newsletter today, quote, how can we say this killing spree has nothing to do with race, as the targets were part of a racialized workforce? I understand the law has to be precise to be just. Maybe racism wasn't his motive, or what he says was his motive. But racism is still very much part of this crime. To truly see and correct injustice, we need more than laws against hate crimes. And in the meantime, we need to protect our most vulnerable workers. Do you guys remember that article, that damning article that came out in the New York Times a few years ago over the nail salons, of the conditions of the nail salons and how nail salon workers, Asian women in particular, were being exploited and trafficked to the United States, and they were living in the nail salons and sleeping in shifts? It was a jungle moment, as in the book, The Jungle, yet nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. It opened up a conversation, and then another crisis happened. So I ask, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about this? Because it compounds so many different issues at once. Of course, Trump was blaming this crisis on the Asian community, calling it the China virus. We've seen the horrific attacks on people, the Asian community over the last year. as a result of his spiteful, hurtful, insightful words. So how can we not naturally think that this is connected to that? And even if it's not, we should at least open up the conversation to do something about it, simultaneously while talking about what it means to protect workers, all workers, not just the ones who work for big corporations, but those who are trafficked, immigrants, those who are working in inhumane working conditions, and of course, sex workers. Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.